lurking below. I am guided only by the small slivers of light provided by the stars scattered through the ink black darkness of the night sky when I walk. But the kind of darkness I fear most is the kind that gets caught in my mind. This type of darkness loves to creep in the mind when least expected, mucking it up and stifling any thought to pass through. It's like an invasive weed that halts all growth, all life that was there before. When it comes, I become as disoriented as I do when I descend to the unlit basement, and anything and everything swirls before me in a meaningless jumble. During this pandemic, I think I and many others have found themselves in the dark. Deadlines, conversation, and news fly overhead, but they feel miles away, and I feel as I am trapped in my bedroom and trapped in my own mind. It's been especially hard to look forward since the only light I see comes from last February, and the only news that seems to come out becomes more bleak every day. The darkness thrives in this pandemic and has stubbornly refused to leave. But through the darkness, there are brief moments of light. Walking outside and feeling the cool winter wind, moments of laughter, seconds of joy. Even when the darkness lives in our minds, the smallest shred of light can allow us to see ahead. I may still be afraid of the dark around me, but I will use light to guide me. And now we will be hearing a reflection from Alora West.
Hello, I'm Elly, and during the pandemic, I've discovered two things. One, I'm a voluntarily solitary person. Two, being solitary has its limits. Even when I'm limited to a screen and a small number of people around me, I see myself coming back to the same few obstacles I encounter every year. Lack of motivation, high levels of procrastination, and most of all, not actually trying to get into contact with people if I haven't seen them in a face-to-face in a while. Although this wasn't a large obstacle for in-person school, it becomes one when you stop seeing at least 100 people you knew around you and instead start seeing names on a gray background, occasionally hearing their voices or watching text pop up in a chat stream. What I have known of the past world state has been torn into shreds by masks, hand sanitizer, and 6 feet between every person. And don't get me wrong, these are necessary precautions. But even necessary things can become a reason that all kinds of people close themselves away and become robots. I myself have become one of these robots. Getting up at just about the same time every day, moving to my desk and logging into a virtual meeting with periodically wavering internet connection. Getting up once in a while to replenish water, food, and maybe getting out of the house to walk the dog. Completing assignments that are deemed important but end up feeling like a broken record, not improving my sleep schedule, not improving my eating habits, the constant picking at my nails. I'm a robot stuck in the same sequence of events and actions, my code never faltering from the back and forth pattern it's always known. This is why being able to see, hear, interact, and connect with people is so important. This is why we need our communities. Because without the people around us and the kinship of other human beings, we're robots. We are lost children in a maze of mirrors. We are but dandelions in a hurricane, going in every which direction, but nowhere at all. The people around us keep us together, like grass and mud. When we are able to make connections and memories, we expand the measly code we are all built from, and become human again. Being a community during a time where not one person can truly be together is hard, but the truth of life isn't simple or easy, but it's about the complexities of the communities that keep us together. And this quote from Yehuda Berg stood out to me. A true community is not just about being geographically close to someone or part of the same social web network. It's about feeling connected and responsible for what happens. Humanity is our ultimate community, and everyone plays a crucial role. Thank you.
All right, I am Rohan Haugen, and this is my reflection. So through this pandemic, I haven't really done a lot. Maybe it's because I'm an introvert, but I've been fine with just not being able to see people. I haven't really wanted to meet up or do things with people. I've been just fine in my house with my family. While I still do talk to friends, I don't really hang out like in person a lot. I think it's because I get all the social interaction I need from my family. I've learned that, for me, not a whole lot of interaction is required, and I can be fine with just a little bit. I've also I've also learned that there are some people who really do need to talk to people, like desperately. One person who does this is my younger brother, Arjun. I see that there are many different types of people with many different experiences with interaction, and I see. I do realize that those people do need to talk to people, and I do enjoy spending time with them. But for me, I just don't feel the need to do it at all. So when this pandemic does finally end, I'll probably stay the same as I was before because for me, things haven't changed at all. I've just been like living my life fine. And now a brief musical interlude from Henry Carvajal.
Hello, I am Alexandra Joka, otherwise known as Zan, and this is my reflection. I know that many of you haven't seen us around of late. Used to sometimes see us in passing, perhaps sitting on one of the rows of the sanctuary, or ushering you inside minutes before one of the services started. But now we just disappeared, stopped coming. Why's that, you might wonder? Well, part of the reason is school. School has gotten no less demanding these last few months. People have the same expectations of us, even though the environment surrounding us has changed drastically. That leads to us being more stressed because of our lack of comfort, which directly causes us to not have time for these services. But there are other reasons as well for why we are not in attendance. One of those would be the abundance of screen time. We are on our devices enough times a day as it is. We do not wish to be on it for any more time. It feels fake, this online communication. It does not compare in any way to actually meeting up with someone, looking them in the eye, shaking their hand. It all just feels less connected. However, since I do not wish to end on a somber note, I will also add this. I have been attending this church since I was 3. Though I do not attend a service currently, this place will always have a special place in my heart. I remember many of you, even though we might have barely glimpsed. We have a connection that is bound mostly by memories. I hope that the connection could become more tangible eventually when everything calms down. Thank you. And now to my sister, Allison.
Hello, I'm Allison. I've struggled with belonging to a beloved community this past year because of self-isolating and only communicating via the internet. While it was and still is difficult to be close to groups of people other than my close friends, I've tried speaking and participating in Zoom meetings with different groups of people. Before quarantine, I considered this church a community to which I belonged. I would go to class every week I could, sing in choir, and work in the nursery. The loving people and environment made it a place I enjoyed. When quarantine began, I quickly felt the difference of normal interactions and one on a computer screen. I withdrew from most people and focused on myself. I started getting in shape and picked up a new hobby. Although I did all this, I was still missing the community that I used to belong to. I was missing an important part of me. So I reached out to friends, started going to RE classes, and got more involved with Sea Cadets. I learned over quarantine that a beloved community is essential to be content, which is why I'm so glad to be a part of UUCR, one of those beloved communities. And now we will hear from Henry.
Hi, my name is Henry. I'm a sophomore in high school, and like most other people my age, I haven't stepped foot inside a school building in almost a year. I haven't been able to participate in sports teams, clubs, and other hobbies that I would normally do through high school. Also, similar to pretty much everyone here with us today, I've been stuck inside for way more time than I would like. I think it's obvious that things haven't been going the way we want to, and there have been a lot of changes forced on us. We have to wear masks, can't see our friends, have to keep distance, the list goes on. Although they're necessary, it doesn't make them any less frustrating. Outside of that, though, there have been changes, even some improvements that might be longer lasting once we go back to normal. There will, of course, be changes in our day-to-day lives, but there are some larger, more overarching differences that I don't think we'll fully realize until our quarantine restrictions are lifted. One change that immediately comes to mind, at least to me, is our perspective on what's going on around us. For example, I used to be pretty carefree when it came to proximity and being close to other people, and obviously that has changed. Of course, once we've been vaccinated and all, that will be less pronounced, but I think it's something that will always stick in the back of our heads. Other habits that will stick around for a while include excessive hand washing and wearing masks when we're not feeling well, and honestly, I see both of those as beneficial. Another thing I think of is efficiency. In our day-to-day lives, we have all adapted to spend as little time around other people, especially inside. Things like grocery shopping have become more focused. We know what we want, we go in, and we grab it as soon as possible. On top of that, certain offices like doctor's visits and routine checkups have become much more fluid with all the reservation systems that they have in place. One example was when my mom went in for a regular checkup the other week, and something that would normally take an hour of waiting and procedure, she was in and out in 15 minutes. There's also efficiency when it comes to technology, since we quickly had to adapt all of our work and schooling to an online format, which means that a lot of people who otherwise aren't very tech fluent are forced to figure out a bunch of things at once. Though it is difficult for many people to adapt that quickly, I think it will be beneficial in the future. On the other hand, something that I think will stick with us for the rest of our lives is how we adapted to having all the spare time on our hands. Not having much to do has allowed a lot of people to start up a new hobby or to fix their bad habits, which is always good to see. I can say for sure that a lot of public parks and trails that were previously pretty vacant got a lot more traffic. And I can list at least 7 people who are trying to find a new hobby to do. I know a lot of people who are trying to learn how to skateboard. Also know a couple friends who have been learning a new musical instrument. So at least some of the time inside has balanced out with people finding new things to do. Overall, I think it's fair to say that 2020 was pretty terrible, and 2020 hasn't gotten off to the best start so far, but at least it was kind of a mixed bag too. I mean, even if some things weren't that significant, or at least, they didn't have a whole lot of impact, at least all the bad had a couple good things to go along with it. With everything that's happened in what really isn't a lot of time, I think it helps to see things from a different angle, whether it's positive angle or just a slightly less negative one. Either way, we'll all get out of this mess soon, so that's something to look forward to. Up next, we have our closing hymn, and for this service, we've chosen a special version of Sweet Caroline, made with video submissions from all over the world. Enjoy.